I watched as the guys from facilities hauled my belongings out of the corner office on the 20th floor. The cardboard boxes were stacked in the hallway, like cheap tombstones. My coffee mug, the ficus I'd kept alive for 3 years, the whiteboard plastered with project timelines, all of it was jammed carelessly into the boxes without even a layer of bubble wrap. A branch of the ficus had snapped, hanging limply over the cardboard edge. "Mr. Cole, could you move aside?" Kevin from facilities pushed a flatbed cart toward me, wearing that standard-issue look of corporate apology. "Ms. Sterling said this needs to be cleared out before the end of the day." I didn't move. Through the glass wall, I could see the new intern inside the office. 22 years old, fresh out of college, the high-potential talent Victoria Sterling had personally recruited from an Ivy League school. Right now, he was standing in front of my desk, running his finger along the mahogany surface as if measuring his new territory. "That's my seat," I said. My voice was calm, which surprised even me. Kevin gave an awkward laugh. "Ms. Sterling said that Caleb, the intern, needs a private space for his project. You're temporarily moving to a cubicle in Zone B." Zone B, the furthest corner of the open-plan floor, back-to-back with the printers and the break room. That area was usually reserved for probationary hires. I turned and walked toward the elevators. The hallway was long, carpeted in dark gray that swallowed the sound of footsteps. The doors to the offices on either side were closed, but I knew everyone inside was listening. Marcus from marketing, Director Lee from tech, Sarah from finance. They were probably all pressed against their doors, peering through the blinds to watch the public execution. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in and hit the button for the top floor. Victoria's office was on the 28th. The entire floor was her domain. During the 30-second ascent, I looked at my reflection in the polished steel doors. 35 years old. The fine lines around my eyes were souvenirs from consecutive all-nighters, pulling together proposals. My hair was meticulously groomed. I'd even straightened my tie before leaving the apartment this morning because I was supposed to present the second-half strategic plan to Victoria today. What a joke. The doors opened. Victoria's assistant, Jessica, saw me and immediately stood up. "Mr. Cole, Ms. Sterling is." "I know she's in." I walked straight to the heavy walnut double doors. I didn't knock. I just pushed them open. Victoria Sterling was on the phone. She had her back to the door, standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The view from the 28th floor overlooked half of Manhattan's financial district. It was her favorite spot, looking down on the world, in control of everything. Hearing the door, she turned around. 40 years old, impeccably maintained, dressed in a sharp white tailored suit. Seeing it was me, she said, "Hold on," into the phone and covered the mouthpiece. "Ethan, what are you doing up here?" Her brow furrowed slightly, not in anger, but with the impatience of someone who had been interrupted. "I have facilities notify you about the office adjustment." "What?" I asked. One word, softly spoken. "Victoria Post." She probably hadn't expected me to ask. In the script she'd written in her head, I was supposed to silently accept the arrangement, move to Zone B, and continue grinding for the company, just like I had for the past 7 years. Caleb's project is critical. She uncovered the mouthpiece, told the person on the other end, "I'll call you back," and hung up. The AI customer support system. You know, it's the company's focus for the second half of the year. He needs a quiet environment. "So my office is the only quiet place?" I asked. "I have 3 major accounts I'm managing. The Galaxy Group's annual integration, the rebranding for Blue Ocean Tech, plus our own new product launch. None of that matters." Victoria walked behind her desk and sat down. She clasped her hands on the table, her standard posture for serious business. "Ethan, don't be so emotional," she said, her voice even. "You're a veteran here. You should understand the company's strategic pivots. Caleb is top-tier talent. We need to give him the best resources available." Top-tier talent. I repeated the words. An intern who hasn't even passed his probation period? His mentor is an AI specialist from Stanford. His thesis won international awards. There was a trace of excitement in Victoria's tone that was hard to miss. I went to great lengths to poach him. "Ethan, you need to look at the big picture." The big picture. She'd used that phrase on me for 7 years. Every time she wanted me to compromise, to work overtime, to clean up someone else's mess, she told me to look at the big picture. 7 years ago, when I joined this company, it was a startup team of 20 people. I drafted the first brand manual in a rented apartment in Queens, accompanied Victoria to meet countless investors, and slept on the office couch for 3 months straight. Later, the company got funding, moved to a high-rise, and went public. My workspace went from a shared desk to a cubicle to a private office. My salary jumped from 60 grand to mid-6 figures. I thought that was the bond of soldiers in the trenches. Until today. So, I looked her in the eye. My version of the big picture is giving up my office and moving to a cubicle in Zone B. Victoria Said. It was that specific sigh that meant, why are you being so difficult? It's just temporary. Once Caleb's project goes live. How long is temporary? I cut her off. A month? 3 months? Or until he officially gets hired and temporary becomes permanent. Silence hung in the office for a few seconds. The afternoon sun sliced through the window, cutting a sharp geometric shape across Victoria's desk. She tapped her finger on the desk twice, her habit when she was annoyed. Ethan, her voice turned cold. Are you questioning my decision? I'm asking for an explanation, I said. A reasonable one. The explanation is that the company needs fresh blood. Her volume suddenly spiked. Do you know what our growth rate was last year? 8%. Our competitors are at 15%. The market is changing, technology is changing, and we need people who can keep up with the era. So I can't keep up? I asked. Who landed the Galaxy Group account last year? Who closed the deal with Blue Ocean Tech? The creative direction for the new product launch. That's the past. Victoria stood up. I want the future. AI, big data, the metaverse. Do you know these things? Can you build them? She walked around the desk to stand in front of me. Her heels made no sound on the plush carpet, but the pressure she radiated was palpable. Ethan, you're 35, she said. In this industry, that isn't young anymore. Your experience is valuable, but experience doesn't pay the bills. The company needs people who can create new value. I looked at her. I looked closely at the face I had known for 7 years. The exquisite makeup couldn't hide the fatigue at the corners of her eyes. I knew she was under immense pressure lately, with the stock price falling and the board breathing down her neck. But I never thought she would use this method to relieve that pressure, sacrificing the dignity of a loyal veteran to curry favor with a newcomer who might, just might, bring a turnaround. So, I said slowly, in your eyes, I no longer have any value. I didn't say that. Victoria looked away. I'm just making the arrangement that is most beneficial for the company. You can still run your project from Zone B. Your salary and benefits remain unchanged. Benefits remain unchanged? I laughed. Victoria, do you think I care about the paycheck? She fell silent again. This time the silence lasted longer. The clouds outside drifted, shifting the patch of light from her desk to the sleeve of her suit. On her wrist was a Patek Philippe, the gift I had given her when the company successfully went public last year. The diamonds on the dial glittered in the sun. Then what do you care about? She finally asked. Respect, I said. 7 years. I thought it would buy me at least a little respect. Victoria's lips parted. For a fleeting second, I thought she might say something, an apology, an explanation, even some fake comfort. But she didn't. She simply turned and walked back behind her desk, sitting down again. Facilities leaves at 5:30, she said. Get the move done before then. Your new desk is ready. I stood there. I watched as she picked up the phone and started dialing, calling back the person she'd hung up on earlier. Her profile was tense, her chin slightly raised. It was the posture she assumed when she had made a decision and wouldn't look back. 7 years. I had seen that posture countless times, when deciding layoffs, when cutting projects, when dropping partners. It was just that this time, the target was me. Fine, I said. As I turned to leave, I heard her speak into the phone. Sorry about that. Let's continue. The door closed behind me. The hallway was quiet. Jessica kept her head down, pretending to organize files, afraid to look at me. The elevator was still waiting on this floor. I hadn't pressed the close button earlier. As I stepped in, I saw myself smile in the reflection. It wasn't an angry smile or a bitter one. It was the smile of someone who finally saw things clearly. The elevator descended to the 20th floor and stopped. The doors opened. Kevin stood there, holding a box. Seeing me, he instinctively took a step back. Mr. Cole. Moo. He stepped aside to clear the path. As I walked out, I glanced at my office. No, it was Caleb's office now. The young man was spinning in my chair, holding his phone up for a selfie. The background was my bookshelf, my plants, the abstract painting I had chosen. He threw up a peace sign at the camera. I didn't stop. I walked straight to the cubicle in the far corner of Zone B. My things were piled on the desk, files scattered, coffee mug tipped on its side, the broken leaf of the ficus lying on my keyboard. The cubicle next to mine belonged to a fresh grad who had started a week ago, a quiet girl named Lily. Seeing me approach, she offered a timid greeting. Mr. Cole. I didn't respond. I pulled out the chair and sat down. The legs scraped against the floor with a harsh screech. The entire Zone B turned to look, then quickly whipped their heads back around to pretend they were working. The printer behind me hummed aggressively. Laughter drifted from the break room. So apparently the intern is a genius. Victoria is personally taking him to meet clients. Heard he's getting promoted to project lead next month. I open my laptop. 17 unread emails. 3 project status reports, client feedback, the agenda for next week's meeting, and a system notification from HR. Workspace adjustment confirmation. The attachment was a floor plan. My name was tagged at location B17 with a small red note next to it. Temporary station TBD. Temporary. TBD. Just like my career here for the last 7 years. Always making way for someone else's strategic adjustment. Always waiting for the next uncertain arrangement. Always believing in those promises of the big picture. The time in the bottom right corner clicked to 4:40 p.m. 50 minutes until facilities clocked out. Enough time to pack. But I didn't move. I just stared at the inbox list. The top email was from the project lead at Galaxy Group. Ethan, regarding the Phase 2 proposal, I have a few questions. I opened the reply box. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a few seconds, then hit the delete key. I didn't type a single word. I closed my email and opened a job recruitment site. I didn't need to search. The first recommendation on the homepage was Apex Dynamics seeks Chief Strategy Officer, competitive package. Apex Dynamics, our biggest competitor, the company that had snatched at least 5 major accounts from us in the last 3 years. Their CEO was Julian Blackwood, 38 years old, founded the company 6 years ago, went public 3 years ago, named Industry Person of the Year last year. I had met him twice. Once at a summit where he gave the keynote. Once at a bidding war where his team won the project with a proposal 10% under my budget. Victoria had cursed the whole ride back. Blackwood is a lunatic. He doesn't understand the rules of the industry. But that lunatic's market cap was now 5 times ours. I clicked on the job posting. The requirements listed 10 points. 5 years of management experience, successful leadership of major brand projects, familiarity with AI and digital marketing trends. I matched every single one. At the bottom of the page was an Apply Now button. Next to it, the counter showed 243 applicants. My mouse cursor hovered over that button. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. The printer whirred again, spitting out a stack of documents. Lily, the girl next to me, stood up to grab them. As she passed my desk, she accidentally bumped into my cardboard box. The top folder slid off and spilled across the floor. It was the draft proposal I had created for the new product launch, something I'd pulled 3 all-nighters to finish. The papers scattered around my feet. The cover page landed face up, project lead. Ethan Cole report to President Victoria Sterling date, June 15th, 2023. Today was June 17th. 2 days ago, when I sent this draft to her, she had replied on Slack with a curt, received. Thanks. No comments, no feedback, not even a thumbs up emoji. I thought she was just busy. Now I knew. She simply didn't care. As I bent down to pick up the papers, my phone buzzed. The caller ID flashed on the screen, Julian Blackwood. Not an assistant. Not HR. The man himself. I watched the name flash 3 times, then pressed answer. Ethan. The voice on the other end was deeper and steadier than I remembered. This is Julian Blackwood. I didn't speak. I heard you moved to offices today, he said. From a private suite on the 20th floor to the corner of Zone B. News traveled fast. There are no secrets in this industry. So, I asked. Julian chuckled softly on the other end. So, I wanted to ask if you'd be interested in coming to see Apex. Outside the window, the sun began to set. Orange light slashed through the glass, gilding the messy pile of documents at my feet. The printer was still whirring. The chatter from the break room continued. And on the phone, the man I had once considered my nemesis said, I happen to have an empty office. 28th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Overlooks the entire river. I gripped the phone tighter. My knuckles turned white. The silence on the line lasted about 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, my gaze shifted from the scattered files to the sunset sinking into the Hudson, then back to the flashing name on the screen, Julian Blackwood. The timing was too precise to be a coincidence. How did you know? My voice was calm, calmer than I expected. Julian didn't answer directly. I heard the faint rustle of paper, then the click of a fountain pen being set down on a solid wood desk. Ethan, he said, the Project Star bid 3 years ago. Do you remember it? How could I forget? That was the first major project Victoria took on after becoming president, and the first time I led a team independently. We prepared for 3 months. Pricing, technical specs, post-service, we polished every detail. In the end, we lost to Apex Dynamics for a simple reason. Their quote was 8% lower. I remember, I said, you undercut us with cost pricing. Not cost pricing, Julian corrected. Strategic loss. We lost $2 million on that project, but we secured a 3-year service contract. He paused. I read your proposal 7 times, especially the third section on digital integration strategy. That was the only part that made my team stay up all night rewriting our own plan. The printer spat out another stack of paper. Lily hurried past, carefully stepping around the mess on my side. So, when I heard Victoria moved you to share a cubicle with an intern, Julian's voice carried no emotion. I felt she might not fully understand the card she's holding. I picked up the last page. Squatting on the floor, I straightened the document on my knee. The sunset hit it from the side, creating a sharp line of light and shadow. I flipped to page 7. Next to the paragraph where I'd made red notes about AI marketing scenarios, the margin was blank. Victoria hadn't even read this far. Mr. Blackwood. I stood up and walked to the window. You're kicking someone when they're down. A low laugh came through the phone. Business is a battlefield, Ethan. A good general not only knows how to fight, but knows how to seize a fleeting opportunity. He paused. It's 6:10 p.m. If you're willing, I can have my driver wait downstairs. In 20 minutes, the coffee machine on the 28th floor of Apex will be brewing the first cup of the evening. I looked toward the other end of the office. Victoria's door was still closed, light seeping through the blinds. She had a dinner reservation with the intern tonight. I'd heard her inviting him in the break room at noon. I need to think about it, I said. Of course, Julian answered quickly. But let me remind you, Apex is launching Project Dawn next Monday. It's the direct competitor to the new product your company is releasing next quarter. He paused deliberately. If you come, you can lead it. If you don't. He didn't finish the sentence. The implication was clear enough. After hanging up, I placed the phone on the desk and slowly started packing the cardboard box. Files accumulated over 5 years, trophies, framed photos. At the very bottom lay a yellowing appointment letter. Ethan Cole appointed as Deputy Director of Marketing. Victoria had handed it to me 5 years ago, her eyes shining. Ethan, let's build this company together. I put the letter back at the bottom of the box. Then I opened my laptop email. A half-written resignation letter lay in the drafts folder, the cursor blinking after Dear Ms. Sterling. The sound of heels clicking on the floor approached. I quickly closed the email tab. When I looked up, Victoria was standing by my cubicle. She had changed into a light gray skirt suit, her makeup retouched to magazine cover perfection. Still here? She asked, glancing at the box by my feet. Packing, I said. She nodded, her gaze landing on the open proposal on my desk. That proposal. She reached out and flipped 2 pages. Put a pin in it for now. Next week, the intern will take over some of the basic work. You could spend some time mentoring him. Mentoring? I repeated the word. You mean I'm no longer leading the project? Victoria frowned slightly. Not leading, just delegating. Ethan, you need to learn how to manage a team. I have managed teams, I said, keeping my voice level. 3 years ago, the marketing department had 12 people. Now it's 37. Last year, performance grew by 40%. That's the past. Impatience leaked into her tone. The company needs fresh blood, new thinking. Do you understand? I looked into her eyes. Once, I had seen appreciation there. Trust. The camaraderie of battle. Now, there was only corporate detachment. I understand, I said. Victoria seemed to relax. Good. Remember to attend the Monday morning meeting. I'll officially announce the new workflow. She turned to leave, then looked back. By the way, about your office. Facilities says there aren't any other rooms available. This may do here for now. We'll talk about floor adjustments in the second half of the year. The sound of her heels faded away. I waited until the sound completely vanished toward the elevators before reopening my email. I didn't finish the resignation letter. Instead, I clicked on my email history with Julian. After the bid 3 years ago, he had sent me a single line, looking forward to the next round. I hadn't replied then. Now, I typed into the reply box, tonight, 8 p.m., Riverside Lounge. Sent. Almost instantly, my phone buzzed. Julian's reply was a single word. Done. Outside, the last sliver of sun sank into the river, and the city lights flickered on. I shut down my computer and shoved the cardboard box deep under the desk in the darkest corner. The printer had finally gone quiet. On the dim desk, my phone screen glowed faintly. The word done was concise, definitive, carrying Julian's signature style. No wasted words, no probing, just straight to the core. I stared at it for a few seconds, then locked the screen and slid the phone into my pocket. The box under the desk looked like an unhealed wound. I didn't look at it again. I stood up and walked to the window. Across the river, the neon logo of Apex Dynamics burned bright in the night sky. 5 years ago, when Victoria and I were just starting Nova Media, Apex was already a titan. We had clashed in bidding wars countless times. The fiercest was 3 years ago. We used a razor-thin, almost reckless margin to snatch a major client from their jaws. At the celebration dinner, a tipsy Victoria had grabbed my arm and said, "Ethan, we are the best partners." That was when Julian had sent that email. Less a sore loser's complaint, more an acknowledgement of a worthy opponent. And now, I was going to meet him. The office lights suddenly snapped off, leaving only the eerie green glow of the exit signs. Facilities was punctual as always. I walked back to my desk in the gloom, took one last look at the cubicle where I'd spent 5 years, coffee stains on the desk, maybe a few pens in the drawer. Then I turned and walked to the elevator. The descent pulled slightly at my stomach. The numbers flashed like a countdown. When the doors opened, the lobby was empty. The receptionist was gone. Only old Joe, the security guard, was dozing in his chair. Hearing footsteps, he looked up groggily. "Mr. Cole? Leaving late?" "Yeah." I nodded. "Hey, I heard. About your office." Joe looked awkward, his face showing a clumsy sympathy. News really did travel fast. "It's fine," I interrupted, forcing a smile. "Just a restructuring." I walked out of the building. The early autumn wind carried the damp scent of the river. I hailed a cab. Riverside Lounge. The driver grunted, and we merged into the stream of traffic. I leaned back, watching the city blur past. I had fought for this city alongside Victoria for 5 years. Every landmark held a memory of overtime, a roadshow, a celebration. But now, those memories were fading fast, becoming static on a background. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Efficient, unquestionable. Send me the preview materials for Monday's meeting. I had admin email you the seating chart for the intern. Check it, and let me know if anything needs coordinating. No greeting. No mention of the office incident. As if it were a trivial administrative task, like changing a toner cartridge. I hovered my finger over the screen, then didn't reply. Instead, I opened the chat with Julian. His profile picture was a deep night sky, starless. I typed, "I'll be on time." He replied instantly. "Third table by the window." The Riverside Lounge was an institution, famous for its view of the skyline. Smooth jazz played softly. The lighting was low. I spotted Julian immediately. He looked sharper than he had 3 years ago. Dark shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled up. He was staring at the river, his profile severe in the dim light. Hearing me approach, he turned. "Ethan." His voice was low but commanded attention. "Seat." A waiter appeared with water. "Long time," I said. 3 years and 4 months, Julian said precisely. "You haven't changed much. Neither have you." I paused. "Except you and more often now." The corner of his mouth twitched. Maybe a smile. "Just business. Nova has had strong momentum." He pivoted. "But recently, you seem to have hit a bottleneck." His intel was good. Nova had lost 2 major bids in the first half of the year, and internal morale was shaky. "Every company has ups and downs," I deflected. "Fluctuation is normal." Julian leaned forward, elbows on the table, fingers steepled. "The key is how the captain handles it. Do they cut off the arm to save the body? Or," he paused, "do they tear down the mast and forget which beam is holding up the roof?" The metaphor pricked me. "You didn't ask to meet just to catch up," I said. "Nova's situation is clear to me. This afternoon, I was told to give up my office for an intern. The core project I've run for 3 years is being partitioned for him to practice on." I kept my tone flat. Julian listened without shock or pity, just focused intensity. "Victoria feels I need new thinking." Or, I laughed bitterly, "that my thinking is obsolete." "So," Julian said slowly, "you feel marginalized, distrusted, even discarded." The words were sharp. I didn't deny them. "Ethan," Julian lowered his voice, "after I lost you 3 years ago, I studied Nova. I studied you. Your market intuition, strategic resilience, that old-school ability to rally a team. Those are rare. I don't believe those things become obsolete in 3 years. Unless what? Unless the captain is panicking and grasping at straws." Julian enunciated every word. "Or she has found her own people she wants to rely on." My stomach dropped. Victoria had been meeting with young overseas consultants frequently. Mysterious management trainees had been appearing. "You're telling me this?" I looked at him, not just as a competitor analysis. Julian smiled. A genuine one this time. "Apex is shifting strategy toward new media integration next year. I need someone who understands content, understands the market, and knows how to lead an army." He paused. "Someone who can build the company with me." He used the exact phrasing from my memory. "You're poaching me," I stated. "I'm inviting you. Title, salary, authority, resources. Everything is negotiable, Julian continued, his gaze sharp. The most important thing is that here, your value will be measured on the correct scale. No one will say you're old because you've worked for 5 years, and no one will ask you to hand over your livelihood for an intern to practice on. The waiter refilled our water. In the brief silence, only the clinking of ice and distant saxophone filled the air. I need time to think, I finally said. Of course. Julian wasn't surprised. But not too much time. Opportunities are fleeting. He checked his phone. Next week, Apex is holding an internal strategy seminar. If you're interested, you can attend as a special consultant. No strings attached. He sent an invite to my phone. Next Tuesday afternoon, after Nova's Monday meeting. Victoria might announce new personnel changes on Monday. I found myself saying, then it's even more necessary for you to come. Julian said meaningfully, come see what new thinking actually looks like. It was near 10 when I left. The wind was colder. I walked along the riverbank. My phone remained silent. No text from Victoria. I stopped at a viewing platform. Across the water, a few lights still burned in the Nova Media building. I used to be one of those lights. Further down, the Apex Tower was ablaze, every window glowing. Your value will be measured on the correct scale. My phone buzzed. A text message from an unsaved number, the intern. It was a photo and a caption. Hi, Mr. Cole. Victoria, let me get familiar with the space. The photo was my emptied office. My shelves cleared, desk covered in neon pink stationery, and a small potted plant. In the corner, my sales trophy, last year's top performer, sat precariously on the windowsill, pushed aside. Then another text. Victoria says you have so much experience. Please guide me in the future. 3. I stared at the neon stationery and the disregarded trophy. My fingers felt stiff in the wind. I slowly raised my hand and opened the invite Julian had sent. Confirm attendance. Apex Dynamics Q4 Strategy Seminar. Closed door. Confirm cancel. My finger hovered over the cold screen. Across the river, Nova's lights and Apex's glow faced off in silence. Confirm. Monday. Nova Media weekly meeting. The tension in the conference room was thick. Victoria sat at the head, flawless as always. The company needs fresh blood. Mindsets closer to gains. Therefore, we are launching the New Wave Project Group, led directly by me. She scanned the room, lingering on me for half a second before moving on. The core members include several consultants just back from overseas and our select management trainees. She gestured to the young faces next to her. Mr. Cole, with his wealth of experience, will provide necessary support, but his evergreen project group will be restructured, with some assets merging into New Wave. Murmurs broke out. My veteran team members looked pale. Victoria, Marcus from Channel spoke up. The Evergreen Group is the company's cash cow. It brought in 42% of the profit last year. Breaking it up now seems. It is precisely because it's a pillar that it needs new vitality. Victoria cut him off. The market changes. We cannot rest on past achievements. Don't you agree, Ethan? All eyes turned to me. I closed my notebook and met her gaze. You're right. The market changes. I paused. People change too. Victoria's brow twitched. Regarding the restructuring details, I stood up. My assistant will coordinate with everyone later. Apologies, I have an important meeting. Under shocked gazes, I grabbed my jacket and walked out. The door closed, cutting off the explosion of noise. I didn't look back. Tuesday afternoon. Apex Dynamics, top floor strategy room. This is Mr. Ethan Cole. Julian introduced me to the execs. Joining us today as a special consultant. I sat at Julian's right hand. In front of me wasn't Nova's paperwork, but the complete draft of Apex's 3-year new media strategy. Detailed, ambitious. Mr. Cole, Julian turned to me during a deep dive. From a content ecosystem perspective, is this entry point too aggressive? I took the laser pointer and walked to the screen. Not aggressive. Insufficient. I highlighted a note. If you add a creator tiering system here, using algorithms plus manual screening, you can build a moat competitors can't cross in 3 months. Silence. Then questions, challenges. I answer them all. 5 years of market intuition, user psychology, trend prediction. It all flowed back. The experience Victoria deemed obsolete was here treated as gold. Julian leaned back, a faint smile on his lips. During the break, I met Julian on the terrace. He handed me a coffee. Well, the strategy is solid, I said, but execution lacks a leader who can tie content, market, and sales together. Your teams are siloed. That's why we're sitting here. Julian looked at the river. Tomorrow, Nova announces the first New Wave partners. They used rates 30% below market to snatch 3 top IPs we were negotiating. I gripped the cup. Victoria is rushing, Julian said slowly. Rushing to prove her new thinking works. Rushing to erase your traces. So she doesn't see the inflated data on those IPs, or that they're desperate to cash out. He looked at me. But you see it. If I come, I heard myself say, I want full project control, cross-department authority, and an option pool no less than what I had at Nova. And I'm bringing 3 people. Marcus, Lily, Dave, my core team. They're the best operators in the business. Julian smiled. Can you start Wednesday? We need a counter strategy by Friday. Done, I said. But before that, I have one thing to do. Wednesday, 9 a.m. Nova Media. The receptionist's eyes went wide. Mr. Cole, aren't you? Just picking up some things. My office, Caleb's office, was transformed. Pink stationery everywhere. My trophy was gone. Caleb was in my chair on the phone. Don't worry, Victoria, I have it all sorted. He jumped when he saw me. Mr. Cole, what? Personal items. I walked to the bottom cabinet of the file system and punched in the code. Victoria had likely forgotten the lock existed. Inside wasn't files, but a fireproof box. I opened it. A photo of the original 4-person founding team. A Polaroid from our first big sale. And a leather-bound notebook. I opened the notebook. Not meeting minutes, but 5 years of trend observations, failure autopsies, and dozens of project blueprints I hadn't launched yet. 3 were marked in red. Launch when timing is right. The core logic of those 3 was shockingly similar to Victoria's New Wave, except my version had risk controls and a clear profit path. Caleb saw a page. His face went white. Don't worry. I closed the book. Just old ideas. Victoria has better ones now. I put the photos in my bag, but left the notebook on the desk. I'll leave this here. Might be useful reference. I walked out, pausing at the door to look back one last time. Then I left. In the elevator, Marcus texted, Ethan, we all got offers from Apex. Is this real? I replied, real. Apex conference room, 2 p.m. Another text popped up. Victoria, Ethan, where are you? Come back immediately. We need to talk. I didn't reply. Outside, a black sedan was waiting. The window rolled down. Julian was in the back. Done. Yeah, I got in. She'll find a notebook. She'll realize New Wave is actually based on the old man's ideas, I said as we crossed the bridge. And her execution is rigged with mines. Copyright lawsuits on those IPs next month. The gambling agreement she signed. The non-competes her consultants violated. When did you know? Suspected it 6 months ago. I wanted to wait. For her to wake up. And now I'm done waiting. Friday, 3 p.m. Apex press conference. Julian announced the Deep Ecosystem Division, led by me. We announced strategic partnerships with 6 premium IPs. Clean rights, deep integration. At the same time, Nova's New Wave launch was descending into chaos. Reporters grilled Victoria on copyright disputes and risk. On the TV in our office, she looked pale. She rushed it. Marcus shook his head. We don't fight just to fight. I put down my tea. We build good content. Activate Project Lighthouse. Julian walked in. Board approved the budget. 20% more than we asked. He placed a file down. They said they trust professionals to do professional work. 3 months later, the first project of the Deep Ecosystem exploded, not through cash-burning ads, but through solid content. Industry press called it textbook execution. Nova's New Wave collapsed. Lawsuits, debt, the consultants fled. The headlines were brutal. Abandoning veterans for concepts. Nova Media's strategic lost cause. I was in the Apex top floor conference room, planning the next quarter. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Ethan, can we talk? Victoria. I stared at it, then deleted it. Julian stood at the door. Going to Beijing next week for investors. Okay, I said, but we need to optimize the creator revenue model first. Julian smiled. That's why I hired you. He paused. I knew 3 years ago. Some people just know where the value of content lies. I smiled back. No, it's knowing where the value of people lies. Outside, the river reflected the lights of 2 buildings. One steady and bright, the other flickering and dim. Above the lights, a new story was just beginning. Story complete.